So find all shows under podcasts under the programs tab on kkht.com. Richard and I hope you'll listen in. As always, if you want to reach me, you can find me at thedivorcecoachinghour.com or call me at 281-944-8043. We are grateful for you joining us each week and for your support. And we are to segment 4. I'm sad. It goes so fast, and we've been having a wonderful conversation about a tough conversation. A tough topic, rather.
Right.
It can be blended families because, the fact of the matter is we're not necessarily trained in this area. We could be if we spent a little bit more time in the Bible. But there's a lot of people out there who really try to help people, and that's what we're trying to do as they move forward and beyond, forward through divorce and beyond it. I referenced Ron L. Deal earlier. He has Smart Step Families. I've followed him since I was in a step family, and he has a new component too that's blended families as well. And so there are resources out there. Hopefully you're getting some ideas and tips and tools from this show. But I want to throw out this quote that he said also in that same interview on CBN. Stay with the process, says Ron. Don't get discouraged. Create a home that becomes a redemption center for the children who live there. What do you guys think about that, Amber?
I love that. I think it's very important for your children, and I know this from my own experience, to have your time. So I have special time with just my 3 kids. He has special time with just his. And then we also create time. I know there's not enough hours in the day, but we try very hard to have his boys just alone with us, and then mine just alone with us as well, which they're with us more. But I think it's really important so they don't feel like they're crammed into this and they have to do this and be with everyone all the time.
Competing for attention.
Yeah, because they do.
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
They definitely do. But this gives them an opportunity like, hey, Mom went out and spent time with just me today. I do one-on-one too, but I went to lunch with all 3 of mine the other day, and it was really wonderful.
Yeah, I saw that on
it was so
Facebook,
nice.
My lunch with my boys, and that was really nice.
Sometimes it is just the boys and I like that too. And everybody gets to feel like individual, like I'm special too.
Right, important, right? Heard, listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can remember that. Maybe I did right as a step parent. We would have girls trips, and so my ex would take his son. They would go play golf, and then I would do little special things with the girls. And
it's important.
Yeah, it's important, and to help them feel special. They're in an environment, and they've got children brains,
right? Yeah,
very hard to process. We have a hard time processing it. So how about you, Scotty, as a redemption center? What strikes you when I say that the home needs to be a redemption center for the family?
Well, I think that starting new again is always hard, and so I was going to say, I was just a story that happened the other day that I was like kind of happy about was, Amber was speaking to being able to time alone with each of the kids, and I took, her daughter, my daughter, right, to go get her driver's permit, right?
Oh, wow.
And so it was just me and her, right?
Ah.
So I drove her to there, and we went together, and, and then helped her through that, and then I actually, pulled over on the way home and said, okay, you're driving home, and she kind of freaked out at first, but, it's like one of those things that we were able to bond over something that we were doing together, just me and her alone, right?
Your experience with her, and
exactly. So I'm building that, we're building that bond, we're building that trust. And that, something that's just ours, right? So I think that's important that each of those children has that own time. Like, make sure that each of my boys get, one-on-one time, just me, because they do feel, the kids do feel that they are competing now because it is a bigger family, right?
Right.
So it is more people, and then there's more. My son, he was the oldest, right? He was 13. Now he's not. Now he's got 2 older siblings, right? So
right. Oh, you changed the order on it.
We did.
Exactly, right? So it's something that he has to learn to. Where does he fit in now, right? And so I still want to make sure I have time with just him, right, and do the things that's important to him.
It's being really intentional with your time.
I think
very
so.
Intentional.
Yeah, very. I wanted to ask you guys this question. I know this sounds a little weird. I wanted to ask you, and now I'm not going to ask you, but I'm going to kind of ask you. I'm going to kind of lead you. But the question I had here was, what misconceptions do people have about remarriage and blended families? But what my mind was going to in that is that you're going to try to replace their dad or you're going to try to replace their mother. And I think kids have that misconception, but we as adults might too. So can you briefly speak to that?
I definitely think people do, because they fall in love and it's all wonderful and they're like, oh, we're going to recreate this family, especially if they have ill will towards their ex. It's easier to gravitate towards the new one and push your kids that way. So I think you have to make a point to always speak kindly of your ex and say, I always tell him he's not your father, but he is your stepfather, and he does love you and care about you, and he supports me, and together we're here for you. And you have the best of both worlds. Like my daughter's, I wish her dad would do something. I'm like, well, guess what? If he doesn't do that, you have Scotty who does that.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about their blended family experience in the past, and it's like, hey, I got 2 Christmases.
Oh
hey,
yeah,
I got 2 birthdays.
That. Yeah, that one always works. But it's more like she wishes like her dad would do certain things for her. But I'm like, you have to accept your parents for who they are and what they give you, and not be the victim when you're an adult because of a childhood thing.
Right.
And so
that can be really tough.
It is very hard to learn. So I always try to tell her, hey, you got the best of both worlds. You have both.
Yeah. And I think that's a perspective. Scotty?
Yeah, I don't think, that's a very hard concept that I had to learn when I was growing up too. And maybe my people in my family haven't even learned that lesson yet in life, right? So there's, you can't blame someone else for who they are, right? You have to accept that person for who they are. Exactly. That's the first step, right? Accepting people for who they are. It's not that you don't want them to get better. It's not that you don't expect more from them, but you have to start from where that's a starting point, right?
Right.
We can all grow. We can all become better, but we have to accept people for who they are and their faults, and not blame them or be the victim because of that, right? So your parents are who you didn't get to pick your parents, right? And so you have to deal with that as it is, right? And then accept it is the first step, and then you can work on it. There's a quote that says you can't have a problem you're not willing to first accept, right? So I messed that up, but
no, I get it. And I oftentimes in shows I hear words and they just kind of stick with me, and I learn through each show as well. And so going back and thinking, as I noted your words, is awareness. Communication, eyes wide open. There's meaning in these words: opportunity, respect. I said leadership. We came back to communication, understanding. And so what I'm really hearing in here is that what we're talking about, the acceptance, but also expectation setting. We've got to seek understanding, not to just be understood. And it sounds like you all did that. And so as we come into the last couple of minutes of the show, any final thoughts that you have?
I think for me, just everybody needs to, find out who you are. It really starts with self. Everything does.
It does.
Bottom line, start with self and
we've
work
got to
your
take
way
that
out.
Responsibility, right? But we oftentimes live in the blame game, and so
it's easier. It's easier, but if you
not
strip
in the long run,
right. Well, if you strip all that away, then it's much easier to take down your guard, and then you're willing to communicate about those hard things. So start with yourself. Work on you, number one, first and foremost, because you're no good for your kids or anybody else if you're not right.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Any final thoughts, Scotty?
Yeah. I was to say, never give up the right to be wrong, which sounds because it gives your ability to learn new things, right? So if you're not willing to, accept that you made a mistake, then you can't learn anything new. So I think that's what life is too.
So again, my significant other, he says, I want to be right so much that I'm not afraid of being wrong. And so he's basically saying, call me out. And that's honest. And that is authentic. And that's the heart of the matter. And so I would be remiss if I didn't briefly speak to what I alluded to earlier was our next series. You guys, Scotty and Amber, are going to be back with us next week, and we're going to be stepping into their professional side of life. They've been so kind to share their personal journey with a blended family. Next time, we're going to actually step into a back-to-school special. Well, I say special because that's kind of ingrained on like those after-school TV shows, right? Series, and a back-to-school series. I got to jump on board with everybody else and their back-to-school things, right? But we've got a series, and we're going to kick it off with you all as divorce real estate specialists and talk about that home, mom's house, dad's house, how that all works, the decision-making there. And then we're going to go into the legal side, and Craig Haston's going to to be here and talk about that with co-parenting rules and regs and things like that. Then we're going to talk this to a psychologist, that perspective. Nice. And then our friend Mary Scally, we're going to talk about creating environments for kids. She's an interior designer, so that should be a really fun series. So I look forward to having you guys back. I know, we're here to help people with a heart, hopefully sharing what we learned, what we did well, what would we do again. But all of that is, I think my goal as a divorce coach is to help people with their thinking. It sounds like you guys have did a lot of thinking as you move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I did, for sure.
Thinking, but also talking and communicating, being open and honest enough to share what was going on. That withholds the feedback without conflict. So, and that's what we're doing here, is to walk the path with people. And so you're going to come back and walk the path with them professionally as we step back into divorce and those things. So thanks for being here, Amber and Scotty.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's so great to be able to hear it. And hopefully that, what we said today it spoke to someone.
We pray so. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it did. So thank you again. And thank you, folks, for listening today. It's my prayer and our prayer that this show helps you or someone in your life. You can find us at the Divorce Coaching Hour or email me at Christy@ChristyStratton.com. Thank you again for listening today. I'm Christy Stratton, and I can't wait to be here with you each and every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on 100.7 FM KKHT, The Word.